Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are listening or watching us right now, either on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook Live, Apple Podcast, or Spotify. Welcome into episode 23 of Cover Your Balls, our Super Bowl 55 preview. I'm your host, Mitch Balla.
I'm Jordan McKelly.
And we're here to cover your balls. But the biggest balls of the weekend are footballs. And we're going to cover all that today. We have a packed show for you all. Listen, we're going to kick it off with the headlines here in a second. We have a special guest, Darien Terrell, joining us at 4:30. He's got a connection to the Super Bowl, Jordan. Pretty interesting interview we're going to have here that our listeners aren't going to miss. Wow.
Well, they're not going to miss it because they're not going to leave. They're going to stay right here with us for the duration of this show, and make sure to ask questions in the chat. We will answer questions as this episode rolls out, and as we break down everything you need to know for Super Bowl 55.
Absolutely. And Jordan, before we move on, a huge thank you to all of our listeners and viewers. Our most watched and listened show was episode 22. We had over 687 views on Twitter alone. Fantastic numbers, and we thank you guys for listening to us and watching us and following us along. We're having a good time with it. Hope you are too.
Oh, no doubt. And make sure before we start rolling to like and subscribe. That way you don't miss us when we go live, and you can hit that bell, that notification button. Mitch, take it away.
Well, Jordan, before we get to the headlines, it is 4 o'clock, which means we have a top four at 4. But Jordan, I need to ask you something first before we get here.
Ask away, please.
Our top 4 today is our top 4 Super Bowls we have seen in our lifetime. And Jordan, when I was trying to go through this, it dawned on me, who the hell thought it was a good idea to use Roman numerals to number the Super Bowl? I'm just trying to figure out which Super Bowl is which. What the hell is XLII? No, just tell me if it's 47 or something. What is this?
Good question. It's a good question. People just making things a little more complicated, Mitch, than they need to be. Let's just be honest with it. I don't know how to read any Roman numeral at all, not even a little bit. So when I list you my 4 favorite Super Bowl moments, I'm going to give you the year. I'm not going to give you that Super Bowl, specific Super Bowl, because I don't know. And I'm not going to take the time to learn it. I'm not gonna lie.
I think it's a great idea. Why would we do that to our listeners or viewers anyway? So whoever did that, shame on you. Like, get some help. Okay. But now, Jordan, I'll throw it over to you. Your top 4 Super Bowls at 4 o'clock.
Mitch, my top 4 Super Bowls. I'm going to walk you guys through this. Number 4. My 4 favorite Super Bowl moments. I'm going to give you the could either be the first time the Giants beat the Patriots or the second time. Both were crazy. Both times the Giants were incredible underdogs. Just incredible underdogs. And they pulled both of them out. At number 3, it gets a little more interesting. I remember watching this game vividly. It was when the Rams played the Titans, and when Dyson was 1 yard short of the end zone with time expiring, and the Rams lost. No, the Rams won 23-16 versus Steve McNair and the Tennessee Titans. At number 2, Mitch. Was that number 2? No, number 2 is the Seahawks versus the Patriots when Malcolm Butler picked the ball off the end zone. Oh, never mind. I mean, when Pete Carroll decided to pass the ball on with 1 yard to go, and you had one of the best running backs in football in the backfield, Marshawn Lynch. That's number 2. And at number 1, my favorite Super Bowl ever, which prompted me to purchase some other team's Super Bowl gear other than the Browns, because I'm a Browns fan, is when the Patriots came back from a 28-3 deficit and won the Super Bowl. Brett, I know you're listening. I'm so sorry. I know you're a Falcons fan. That is by far my favorite Super Bowl. I went and bought a Patriots hoodie afterwards. That's how pumped I was about it. And I had a little too much to drink. That's probably why I bought that hoodie. Mitch, that's my top 4 Super Bowls.
Jordan, that's a good top 4. It really is. And let's be honest.
Put a lot of thought into this. I'm not going to lie to you.
Since 2000, we'll say 2007, there's been a lot of Super Bowls to pick to put in a top 4. Just because that's really what the games I remember, starting with that Steelers and Seattle game. But that's not my top 4. I'm going to give you my number 1 first. And Jordan, it's the 2008 Super Bowl in Glendale, Arizona. when the New York Football Giants knocked off the Patriots that were going for the perfect season, 17-14, scoring that touchdown with 36 seconds left in the fourth quarter. Just an amazing Super Bowl. Number 2 for me, Jordan, would be the 2009 Super Bowl then in Tampa, Florida, which the Steelers beat the Arizona Cardinals 27-23 with that amazing throw to Santonio Holmes in the corner of the end zone to give the Steelers the win. At number 3, I'm just going to go. It was one of my favorite I remember watching. Was the Colts beating the Bears in 2007, 29-17. Devin Hester returned that opening kickoff for a touchdown. Pretty electric open to a Super Bowl, if I do say so myself. And then,
oh yeah,
how is the 2017 Super Bowl not anybody's top 4? Down 28-3, the Patriots come back and win 34-28. That's got to be in my top 4. It was one of the best Super Bowls I've ever watched. At the very bottom of the list, that will never be mentioned in a top Super Bowl, though, Jordan, will be the 2019 Super Bowl when the Patriots beat the Rams 13-3. Just want to throw that out there. Probably the worst Super Bowl of all time. Just saying. But with that said,
wow, the disrespect.
All disrespect, Jordan. All disrespect.
The disrespect, Mitch. It has to stop. Wow.
Had to do it to him. But Jordan, with that being said, we are here to preview the Super Bowl.
We are.
But before we do that, we got to get some good headlines in today, don't we?
I mean, yeah, it is. I mean, I would say half-hour headlines with Mitch, but it's really not the half hour, and it's the beginning of the show. So what are we calling this?
Mitch's afternoon headlines.
Okay. Mitch's afternoon headlines. Roll it.
All right, Jordan, let's just touch back on what happened in episode 22 with Courtside Karen. I don't know if you saw Meta World Peace's tweet.
No, I did not.
But Meta World Peace tweeted out that she was lucky I wasn't there. I'm sorry, about the husband. Meta World Peace says he would have knocked his ass out. Now we know Meta World Peace has done some crazy things.
I've watched him knock somebody out. Yeah.
Do you think he actually would have knocked this man out?
No, I think he's a changed man. I actually love Ron Artest. I always have. He's like one of the only people who've done some pretty heinous stuff, and I just love. Think he's calmed down now. I don't think he's doing that at all. I think he probably would have laughed at him.
Fair enough. No, you know what? No, he would have beat his ass. He would have beat his ass and his wife.
It's not the Indiana Pacer Ron Artest, Mitch. It's not the same Ron Artest. That's why he changed his name to World Peace. He has World Peace in his name. He's not fighting anybody at this age.
You're right. You're right.
Maybe I am. I could be wrong.
I guess we'll never know. It's a big what if. So, I mean, I think he would have fought him. But one thing I do know for a fact is who is performing at the halftime of the Super Bowl, Jordan.
Macy Gray?
That's The Weeknd. No.
It's not Macy Gray?
No, it's not Macy Gray.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
And it's not Morgan Wallen either. It is The Weeknd. And Jordan, The Weeknd spent $7 million of his own money to make the Super Bowl halftime show what he envisioned.
How much money does he make if he had $7 million to put in some side project? What's he worth? I know we have some fact checkers in the audience. What is The Weeknd worth? We need to know. We need to know that right now.
But what kind of show is he trying to put on to spend $7 million of your own money for a show that, is 20 minutes, 30 minutes? I don't remember how long the Super Bowl halftime show is. Last year, Shakira just was mesmerizing me. I didn't even know what was going on. She was just really hot.
Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake, made the halftime show entertaining, Mitch. And they didn't have to spend $7 million on it. All they had to do was take off some clothes.
Now, maybe they had to spend money afterwards because they probably got fined or something. But, hey, that's neither here nor there. Jordan, you know what's a lot more than $7 million?
What?
$24 million, which the rapper Lil Uzi Vert spent to have a pink diamond implanted on his forehead. Lil Uzi has been paying for this since 2017. What? $24 million to have a diamond implanted on your forehead, Jordan. How do you feel about that one?
It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. It sounds like something like a villain would do in like Ninja Turtles. Like they have like a diamond in the middle of their forehead. Like Crane. Like that's really weird. It's not surprising that comes from a rapper that they would spend money like that.
It is really weird, but I think the more impressive part is the fact that it only took him 3 years to pay off $24 million.
It's pretty, yeah. He has a good financial advisor.
Very good financial advisor. Mm-hmm. Jordan, we had some big news on Tuesday when NCAA football announced they were coming back. Mm-hmm. It looks like 2022 will be the first game release. And so just a fun fact for all our listeners, NCAA football died and came back before Michigan ever beat Ohio State.
Wow, that's a fact of the day. Also, another fact, I bought an Xbox 360 just so I could play college football because I couldn't play it on my Xbox One. That's how good that game was, Mitch. God.
That game was electric.
It was unbelievable.
Jordan. Absolutely electric. Jordan, let's head over to the NBA now, where we need to talk about one team in the NBA starting next week a little bit more, and that's the Philadelphia 76ers. We know they were riddled with COVID earlier this year, but when they have their starting five from opening night on the court, they're undefeated. They are 12-0 with the actual starting five. Are the Sixers a legit title contender?
Listen, Doc Rivers is an unbelievable coach. He might be one of the best regular season coaches of all time. He's very Mike D'Antonio-ish, esque. I don't think Doc Rivers is better than D'Antonio because he has that championship. I think they're still very comparable. People who just are great coaches, but not great situational coaches. So I'm not surprised. I think the Sixers will be a force in the East the rest of the season in the playoffs. I don't expect them to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, though.
I guess we'll have to wait and see.
And we will.
Another thing we're waiting to see is when the divorce is finalized between Kanye West and Kim Kardashian. Jordan, they are no longer speaking at all. A sad day out there for all the Kardashian and Kanye West fans. Just wanted to have a little moment there for those people that they are no longer speaking.
Super tough.
It's just that's a real tough
all the
scene.
Stuff going on in the world, and we're talking. That's the news, huh?
Yeah, but you know what else is tough?
God
the fact that
all.
Alex Rodriguez, who is engaged to Jennifer Lopez,
yeah, he is. Good for
has
him.
a romance going on with Southern Charm star Madison LaCroix.
No way. Really?
Rumors are swirling out there that A-Rod may be in a bit of a pickle, and not one on the base paths, folks.
Wow, he should have learned from his steroid days. It's just too big of a risk at this point. It's a huge risk. Man, what a moron.
I know, what a moron. J-Lo is gorgeous. So J-Lo, listen, if you decide
that's dumber
anything,
than the steroid era.
I'm here. Like J-Lo, if you and A-Rod split,
and I support that, man. As your cousin, as blood, as family, I have your back there.
All right, back to the NFL now with a couple more headlines.
Yep.
Jordan, Under Armour is ending its on-field licensing contract with the NFL and restructuring its business to focus on being a performance brand above all. So after the Super Bowl, there will be no more Under Armour in the NFL. What do you think about that?
Honestly, I'm not a huge Under Armour guy anyways. So that's not, I don't think anything of it. I don't have much of their stuff. It's super overpriced. So I don't really care who gets in and gets that money from the NFL with whatever clothing deal they get. Makes no difference to me. How do you feel about it? Obviously, if you brought it up, it's on your heart. So if you really need to talk about this, Mitch, we can sit here and talk about it. But we're supposed to be.
I don't need to talk about it at all.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's let everybody know what Mattress Mac did for the Super Bowl. Jim McIngvale flew into Colorado and placed $3.46 million on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers spread of +3.5. Jordan, is this a bad beat, or is Mac going to win some money?
I mean, this game is kind of a toss-up, right? So I don't think this is a good bet at all. I mean, I would never bet this amount of money, but, maybe the way this guy got all of his money was taking risks like this one. I love it. Talk about who has bigger balls. This guy has the biggest balls of all time by putting this amount of money on it. Good for him. I hope he has a good time watching the game.
And our last headline regarding the Super Bowl before we preview it a little bit and then welcome in our special guest.
Yes.
Jordan, according to Adam Schefter, there were over 20 Kansas City Chiefs players and staffers, including quarterback Patrick Mahomes, scheduled Sunday to get a haircut with a barber who tested positive for COVID-19. The Chiefs acted wisely and aggressively and pulled the barber mid-cut once the test results came in. Jordan, do the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have an inside man to try to sabotage the Chiefs?
I mean, clearly, Mitch, it seems that way. Listen, I don't think Tom Brady needs anybody sabotaging anything. He's Tom Brady. Oh, never mind. Yeah, he does. He deflates balls. They watch people's film. You know, this whole time we thought, you know, the Patriot way was the Patriot way. It was really Tom Brady's way. Maybe Tom Brady was the one with all the scandals up there. Maybe he's just bringing it down to Tampa Bay. Maybe, just maybe, Mitch, this is bigger than we think it is.
I mean, listen.
And maybe not. Maybe I'm just
New England, and there's no issues in New England this year, and all of a sudden, the barber cutting the Chiefs' hair tests positive for COVID. It makes you think.
What if it was Cedric? What if it was like Cedric the Entertainer dressed up, and he was the one who did it? You ever watch Barbershop?
I have not. I can't say I have. Can't lie to our listeners.
Okay, never mind. Had a good joke there, but it wasn't. Yeah. Ugh, tough crowd.
Very tough crowd. Very tough crowd. But Jordan, that is today's headlines. Ended on the Super Bowl headlines. So you and I should dive into this right now. And before we do that, let's give everyone the important information.
Yeah.
Sunday, February 7th, 6:30 p.m. kickoff on CBS with Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, Tracy Wolfson, and Gene Steratore. You know, everybody loves the rules analyst that comes in and tells you why that call is going to hold, and then it gets overturned every time. AFC champion Kansas City Chiefs, the defending Super Bowl champions, traveling to Tampa Bay to face Tampa Bay and Tom Brady, the NFC champions in Super Bowl 55.
Yep.
Raymond James Stadium. And for those wondering who's singing the national anthem, don't worry. I got you. It's Eric Church and Jasmine Sullivan, and we already told you who's doing halftime, The Weeknd. So, Jordan, throw it over to you. What are you looking forward to on Sunday?
I'm looking forward to a lot of things, Mitch, in particular eating all of the food for Super Bowl Sunday. But let me break this down for you. If everybody could follow a recipe, everybody would be a chef, but they can't. Right? Same thing with coaching. We all think it's easy, but it's not. There's certain coaches that set themselves aside from everybody because they're just different. Not just different by how they lead, but how they call the game. Andy Reid has to be the X factor for this game because what a significant coaching advantage the Kansas City Chiefs have over Tampa Bay. Bruce Arians is not an elite coach in my mind. I don't think he ever has been. I think he's a really good coach, but his teams have never been buttoned up. Ever since Tom Brady has come into the fold, he's been more the coach than Bruce Arians has been. And for Bruce Arians' sake, it's really worked out because Tom Brady is still playing pretty good football at this stage in his career. Or I'll say wouldn't be in the Super Bowl. They wouldn't have beat Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs. And, I mean, they're going for what? Their fourth win in a row in the playoffs, which would make them 15-5 at the end of the season. I want to say that Tampa Bay can't stop the Kansas City offense, but I really think this is going to be a lower scoring game than a lot of people think, Mitch. Now, I will say in the last game on November 29th, when both of these teams played and there was only a 3-point margin by the end of the game in which Kansas City won 27-24, there was over 800 passing yards, 807 passing yards between Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. 807. I don't think that's going to be the case this Sunday. I really think Ronald Jones is going to get a heavy dose of carries, and if Tampa Bay wants to win this game, Ronald Jones has to be fed the football, and very much so when I was talking about the Browns matchup in Kansas City, what the Browns do very well is actually fits in with the recipe to beat Kansas City. They run the football well, and they're a little nasty on defense. Well, Tampa Bay can run the football just as well as the Browns, in my opinion. And they have an incredible defense on all three levels. They're stout. If they come out and they make this just a drag-out game and they come out and hit early and often, I really like Tampa Bay in this game. And I don't think there's going to be guys running free all over the field. Mecole Hardman and Tyreek Hill are not going to have the type of game they had last game. It would be impossible, Mitch. Tyreek Hill had over 200 yards in a quarter last game. Last time they played Tampa Bay. That won't ever happen again. And I really think they're going to really play good situational football against Kansas City. Tom Brady's going to do enough to win. I like Tampa Bay in this game. And with the line being 3.5, if you want to bet Tampa Bay and you feel confident in that pick, I think it's a great bet. Because you can take a 3-point loss with it. But I like Tampa Bay, Mitch. I don't know how you feel.
Jordan, I'm still up in the air right now. And ultimately, listen, the better team, the team that's been the favorite to win all year, they're in the bowl. And
yeah.
And look, if you're listening on podcast right now, we have a comment from Tyler saying that he will bet me $50 the opening kickoff is not a touchback. And Tyler, I'm not taking that bet because I am educated. 17 of the last 19 kickoffs have not been a touchback. And he knows why, because he listens to Pat McAfee. So I'm not taking that bet. But either way, Jordan, history has a funny way of repeating itself. And Tom Brady's going for a 7th ring on the 7th. Russell Wilson, let's put this in context. Russell Wilson, first year as a starter, lost in the playoffs. Second year as a starter, won the Super Bowl. Third year as a starter, lost to Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes, first year as a starter, loses in the playoffs. Second year as a starter, wins the Super Bowl. Third year as a starter, he's running into Tom Brady in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Jordan, my head says take Chiefs because I just think they're the better team. I think I'm going to be sitting here pulling for Tampa Bay. I really do. I'm not ready to watch a new dynasty start. And ultimately, I think I'm going to be pulling for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and a good friend of the show, Mitch Farnsworth. And I've seen it too much. I can't bet against Tom Brady. The man was down 28-3.
Yeah. Clearly not the same guy, though. Hey.
I'll take the Bucs.
Yeah. Do you envision it being a low scoring game? Because I really think the total yards in this game is way down. I would definitely bet the under. I don't know what the over is, but it has to be high.
40. It's 56.
56?
Over under is 56 points.
I actually like the under on it. For those of you betting out there, I like the under big time in this game. I think this is going to be a completely different game. One of the reasons why, and I forgot to tell you this, Mitch, every time I pick a team in the Super Bowl, I usually go with the better offensive team, and every time I'm wrong. At least every time I've picked a Super Bowl game wrong, I've always gone with the better offensive team. It's about time I take a defense. And I honestly, Devin White is my dark horse for Super Bowl MVP. He is, in my opinion, the best player on the field. He might be the best defender in the NFL right now. He's playing at an extremely high level. I loved his interview he did on Sirius this week. Sharp guy. I envision him having a big game. Like Von Miller did for the Broncos a couple years ago.
I like that take. I'm going to double down on it because you and I have been talking all week about Devin White.
We have.
Pro Bowl snub, but he wasn't all pro. So I think he's going to make a major impact. And Winfield is back for the Buccaneers.
That's huge.
Hopefully they just don't play cover 0 like they did against the Chiefs the first time. And they should have a lot better chance of beating Kansas City and knocking them off from repeating for the Super Bowl. But Kansas City is going to try to do something that hasn't been done in a long time, and that's repeat as Super Bowl champs. Jordan, I'm excited for the game. I wish my Cleveland Browns were in it. I know you wish the Cleveland Browns were in it. They'll be there soon.
We do.
They'll be there very soon.
But, Mitch, can I say one thing before we transition here?
Yeah.
You got to remember that Patrick Mahomes had 462 passing yards last time they played. 462. And the Kansas City Chiefs only scored 27 points. So, yeah, they might be, Todd Bowles might be in cover 0 sometimes. He might call the wrong. Sometimes you're going to get bit hard. I mean, Kansas City, they have all the big plays. Almost every play they have downfield is a big play. So, it's not about total yards in this game. It's about how many points you're going to give up. And if they can hold Kansas City, if they can't keep Kansas City under 27 points, they're not going to win this game. If they can do that, though, I think they win this game. And I think they will, but I think Kansas City could have 600 total yards, but still be held under 25. It's possible.
I agree. And you said hold them under 27. Tom Brady's magic number in the Super Bowl, minus that one game against the Atlanta Falcons, is 23. When his team holds the opposing team under 23 points, Tom Brady's record is sensational. So right now, I get you're saying hold the Chiefs under 28, but the Bucs' goal should be hold them under 23. 3 touchdowns at max and go from there. And really, Tom Brady just has to take care of the ball. And like we saw last year, they have to finish this game. The 49ers, we thought it looked like we're going to run away with that till the fourth quarter. and the Chiefs just turn it on like they've done all year. So it's going to be a great game. I think it's going to be a game you have to watch from start to finish. This is not going to be like the Broncos and Seahawks from a few years ago where it was just a complete blowout after the first quarter. So I'm looking forward to it. I know you're looking forward to it. And I believe a lot of people are looking forward to it, Jordan.
Yeah, I am. You know who I was thinking about earlier? I was looking through all the rosters. And I was looking through all the stats and the moves the Buccaneers made to bring people on the last couple of years. And talk about a comeback, one of the comeback players of the year, Jason Pierre-Paul, Mitch. You know, just a couple of years ago, he was blowing his fingers off with fireworks. And now he's found himself back in the Super Bowl. And not only did he do that in 2017, but in 2019, he was in a very bad car wreck. And he's coming back and seeing one of his better years that he's ever had. He's having a tremendous year. I'm pretty sure he's just right around 10 sacks. And we're going to see against Green Bay, I know he had 2 sacks. So we'll see what imprint he has on this game. But we talk about Alex Smith. I think Jason Pierre-Paul experiencing different issues, obviously, but definitely deserving of being one of the top comeback players of the year.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Alex Smith, I think everybody agreed, any football fan agreed before the season started, he was going to win comeback player of the year. But yeah, Jason Pierre-Paul is definitely an honorable mention. Nobody comes close to what Alex Smith has gone through. But that's a good take there too. The real question is Ndamukong Suh going to step on anybody this weekend?
What's the over-under on that?
I don't know what it is. I'm going to place it at 1.5.
I swear, every time he does step on somebody, though, I'm watching live. That's really weird that you said that. I've watched him step on multiple people live. I'm just like, what's happening here? It's one of those things where you just kind of just like your neck twitches and you're just like kind of going back and forth. You're like, is this dude serious right now? Like there's 30 cameras on you, stomping on people in the middle of the field.
He doesn't give a damn.
He hasn't made a lot of noise in the last couple of years in terms of like his theatrics. He's been pretty well behaved, which is why he's finding himself contracts while not playing at the level he's used to playing at. So good for him.
It's why he hasn't been suspended yet, and why biggest stage. Maybe he wants to go out on top, maybe make a scene. Who knows? Who knows, Jordan?
No doubt. When do we have Darien coming in here?
Well, you tell me. Is he in the green room?
No, he's not in the green room yet. So
not in the green room yet?
No, not
be
yet.
In here. 4:30, 4:35 is when we're going to welcome in our guest, Darien. And we do apologize. It was misspelled on the video live.
Oh, was it? Well, in the show notes, you put EN, so that's how I spelled it.
On the video, it's IAN.
IAN? Well, I messed that up. I definitely did that. I'll tell you what. Man, I was a good speller, too. That's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. If Tom Brady wins his 7th ring, regardless of what people say, do we have to say he's the best quarterback ever? Or is that already kind of just like in stone right now?
I mean, anybody you ask, it's already in stone. I mean, him going to a new team with a new coach without Belichick, I think this all but solidifies it, whether you agree with it or not. I mean, I've made the case all the time why he might be the most decorated, but I don't firmly believe he's the greatest at that position of all time. But if he wins his 7th ring, there's no denying that. There just isn't. I mean, I'll sit here and tell you that's a fact that he gets his 7th and first with a new team without Belichick. Yeah, he's the greatest of all time, no doubt. And listen, this will be the 2nd time if he wins without a top 10 defense. That's big for him too.
Here's Tyler, a question. He says 2 for Brady over 40 or Mahomes 2 under 25? Oh, man, what's bigger? 2 Super Bowls for Brady under 40 or 2 for Mahomes under 25? Man, I'm going to say 2 over 40. Tyler, I'm going to say that because it's never been done. I mean, we even saw Ben Roethlisberger one year go 15-1 and lead Pittsburgh like when he was early on in his career. We've seen a lot of young quarterbacks lead their teams. I think more than we have, Mitch, seen older veterans lead their team at this age, right?
Yeah, I'm actually going to go the reverse of you though, Jordan. I think it's bigger for 2 under 25 for Mahomes because he might not feel the pressure yet, but it's going to get to him. If people are calling this the GOAT versus little GOAT, right?
Yeah.
People are already calling Pat Mahomes the next GOAT, the next dynasty. So that's a lot of pressure. And I don't know what's going to happen if Pat Mahomes loses the Super Bowl. it'll be interesting to see what people say. But I think more pressure is riding on Pat Mahomes, 225. And I think that's bigger for everything going on right now.
Love to hear it. Darien is here, so let's get Darien in here. Let's go ahead, and I'm just gonna have to change these because we didn't do this beforehand. So Mitch, let's get him in.
While we're welcome in, that is our guest today, Darien Terrell. He is a graduate of Jackson High School and a alum of Eastern Michigan, where he played college football there. Darien, welcome on to Cover Your Balls.
Appreciate it, guys. How we doing today? Of course.
Doing well. And Darien, we know you have a connection to the Super Bowl, which we're going to get to here shortly. We got some questions to ask you, but we figured we'd flip it around a little bit. And we're going to start you off with some easy questions, some would you rathers, to really, see what you're about.
Sounds good. Let's get it started.
All right. The first one, it's a big one. In the movie Cars, does Lightning McQueen have life insurance or car insurance?
Life insurance.
Life insurance. Okay. Creamy peanut butter or crunchy peanut butter?
Creamy. 10 out of 10.
Oh,
yeah. Well, Amen. I was a little worried asking 100%. That one. Vanilla or chocolate ice cream?
Vanilla.
That's a good one. Would you rather lose the ability to read or the ability to speak?
I'd lose the ability to read. I can still listen.
True.
Mitch, these questions.
Hey, listen. I dig deep for them.
It's pretty good.
Let's see what else we got here. Oh, here we go, Jordan. We asked this one on another episode that has not been posted yet. But would you rather your only mode of transportation is by donkey or by giraffe?
Oh, that's a good one.
Giraffe.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah.
All the right answers. You haven't said anything that's suspect yet. Everything you've said is respected.
All right.
Mitch?
Would you rather only be able to use a fork and no spoon, or use a spoon and no fork ever again?
I'm gonna go with a fork.
Yeah. I don't know, Jordan, can you behind a fork?
I can get behind a fork. You know what drives me crazy, though, is when I go into Chipotle and they don't have spoons. They only have forks. I like to eat my Chipotle with a spoon. I know that's kind of weird.
Fair enough.
That's very weird, actually. That's extremely weird. All right, and last one. Would you rather be in jail for a year or lose a year off your life?
Oh, you got to go to jail.
Yeah.
You got to go to jail? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Just double checking. All right. Now back to our regularly scheduled program here. And let's talk the Super Bowl, Darien. First up, why don't you give us a little introduction to yourself?
My name is Darien Terrell. As you said, I grew up here, went to Jackson High School here in Canton, Ohio. Then went and played football at Eastern Michigan University. Now I'm currently the president of Deliver That, which was started from 2 Jackson High School graduates, and we now are headquartered here in Canton, Ohio.
Right on. So,
awesome.
Darien, before we get to the Super Bowl, let's just go right out of high school with you. So, like you said, you were a beast at Jackson, led a great rushing attack with your good friend in the backfield. So let's talk about what your options were at Jackson to play college football.
Options out of Jackson. I had the majority of my offers were from the MAC. Actually, all of them were from the MAC. I was on the brink of going to West Virginia, but the day that I was going to commit, another individual did, and so that prompted me to look at my other offers and didn't want anything else to go off the table. So I ended up committing to Eastern Michigan the summer going into my senior season.
Okay.
Yeah.
And was there anybody at Jackson that really helped you, progress to play at the next level?
Yeah, 100%. I always say that I wouldn't have been able to move on and be prepared to play at the next level if it wasn't for Coach Mazer, or John Mazer. He helped me a lot, developed me a lot specifically, and I credit being able to move on to the next level a lot to him.
Great people the Mazers are. I had Mrs. Mazer in class, and John's over at Massillon now. powerhouse in the state of Ohio. Jordan, you want to hit him with the next one?
Yeah, I'm gonna let you keep rolling. I'm gonna wait for my question. Keep going.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
No, you're good.
So, Darien, ultimately, why did you choose Eastern Michigan University?
So, truthfully, I went to my official visit. I took multiple other visits, but that year, Coach English had just won the MAC Coach of the Year. Seemed like they were really changing things around. I liked his style of coaching, the type of coach that he was. And then, honestly, it was out of my other offers, it wasn't a school that other people from around here were going to. I wanted to kind of step out of the bubble per se here in Stark County and not go to one of the most popular schools that a lot of people around here go to. So nobody that I know was going to Ypsilanti, Michigan.
As a lineman, when you're looking for a coach, like when you're in the process of trying to pick a college at such a young age, what exactly were you looking for specifically? Or would you be looking for something a little different than maybe what a wide receiver would be looking for, like a different position, or is the process relatively the same?
Yeah, it's a lot different for linemen. You don't go into it expecting to play your true freshman year. So, skill players, other players, maybe on defense, they have the ability to step in and play immediately. But usually, offensive linemen, you redshirt your first year just because you have to physically get your body ready for it, and then mentally, it's a completely different game. So, when I was looking for coaches and programs, I wanted a coach that was more hard nosed, run the ball type of coach, not more of your passive, laid back. I liked a hard nosed guy, and that's exactly what Ron English is to a T.
I mean, I guess you'd have to. I mean, the position you play is down the trenches. I mean, I don't think it gets nastier than anywhere else on the football field than where you play. So I guess you would have to have a coach that is like that. I can't imagine playing for a different style coach at the position that at least you played at.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. And then my offensive line coach at the time is Kurt Anderson. He's now he's the offensive line coach at Northwestern, but he played offensive line. He was at the University of Michigan. He has a great history of creating some hard-nosed offensive linemen. So those two guys were the main reason that I had committed.
That's awesome.
Sounds like some pretty good reasons to commit to a place, but tell us about your first start. Where was it and who was it against?
First start was my redshirt freshman year. It was week 7. It was in Ypsilanti, Michigan, and it was against OU. So I played special teams, so I was on field goal, punt, all that stuff prior to that. And then my first start was against OU week 7.
And then after that, you never looked back, did you?
I tried not to.
So we know that there's this. I mean, we see it every year in college football. The MAC generally goes to these big schools. They get paid money to go play the top dogs in the country. So tell us about some of the places you went to play that are outside of the MAC. Some of the toughest places you had to go play, some of the toughest teams you had to play.
Yeah. So we had to go to, I'd say we'll start with the toughest teams we had to play. That would be, we went to LSU and played them. We went down to the Swamp, played Florida, went into Penn State and played Penn State into Happy Valley, played Michigan State. So there was a good handful of teams that they were
That's
definitely
a gauntlet.
Good. Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah. Those are all like top 10 places like in the country to play, basically.
Yeah. And then I'd say the toughest one physically to play in was when we went out to Wyoming. The elevation there, it's different. You can't really describe it. You're basically breathing through a straw the whole game. So that was probably my least favorite place to go and play at.
Yeah, that's tough. I've lived out in Denver for about a year and a half total. And I'm fine if I'm just jogging, but if I'm doing anything high intensity, it's my breathing is just sporadic. And for a guy who's run as much as I have, you'd be like, what's happening? But I mean, that's just how it is. If you're not used to it, it's a huge difference.
Yeah, it's massive.
Darien, which out of those places you just named, which was the most intense atmosphere? you played in? Like, were any of them night games? I know Penn State's notorious for a whiteout. Did you play them at night? Was it a night game in Death Valley?
So I'd say intense. There was a moment in the Penn State game where it was we went up, we had an interception, kicked a field goal, so we were up to begin the game, and we were kicking into the student section. So that's something that the ground was shaking. We had a miss cadence or a miss snap because we couldn't hear anything. So that was different. But I'd say my most memorable game was going into Death Valley, and that was a night game at LSU. So it was actually a pretty good game. Going into the fourth quarter, we were down 8 points. So that was against Leonard Fournette and that motley crew that they had. So that was probably one of the funnest games that I've been able to play in.
So when the controller vibrates on Xbox or PS4 and in the football games, that's real, is what you're saying. You're saying it's vibrating for a reason.
Yeah, times 10.
That's awesome. And like, what was the sideline like when you went up on Penn State, like early on at Death Valley? Because that might be, I mean, that is such a tough place to play. It's arguably the toughest place to play in the country. What was the sideline like? You don't expect that. You don't expect to be leading Penn State in Happy Valley.
Yeah, it was electric. That's for sure. It was off an interception, and it was a return. So we were going nuts, of course. But there's 100,000 other people that that weren't. We had our family that was. If you look at the visitor sideline and you look at the upper tier in the top left corner, that's where they had our away section. So that's where our family was. So you couldn't really hear them up there, but other than that, it was a pretty cool experience there.
Sounds like it. I mean, that's amazing. And now I'll let you include the MAC again. What was your favorite city to go to and play? And then you may have already answered this with what you just said, but your favorite stadium ever to play in?
Favorite place to go and play. I think that the coolest environments, I can't narrow it down to one. You got three, in my opinion. You have going to Toledo. That's always a nice trip because it's only about 45 minutes to an hour from Ipsy. They always had a good turnout in their crowd. So Glass Bowl is a cool stadium. Also going to Western Michigan when we were, let's say my junior and senior season, because that's when they were really gaining momentum. So they got some really good turnouts for their home games. So that was good. And then Northern Illinois, it was a hell of a drive. It sucked to go in there, but the environment was always good in DeKalb.
Now, do you have a specific moment that is your favorite from your college playing days? Whether it was a pancake or anything.
No, it was our senior year, my redshirt senior year, our very last game. It was senior night. It was a night game, and we were playing Central Michigan, and we actually beat them. It was a big touchdown at the end of the game, but we beat them to secure a spot to go to a bowl game for the first time in about 30 years. So that was, you couldn't cap off a better way to end a career inside of Rynearson, but beating your rival to then go to a bowl game for the first time.
How tense is that rivalry? Is it pretty tense?
Yeah, it's tough to. A lot of the times when we would play each other, it'd be at the end of the year. So a lot of
on the line.
Yeah, and then a lot of the students were at home for Thanksgiving break, or so it wasn't ever really a packed environment. But this senior season, the one I was talking about, there was a lot on the line. So they usually got our number before because while we were flipping around the program. So it meant a lot to us to be able to take it back to them, beat them, and then go to the bowl game.
That's all. And what bowl game was that year?
That was the Bahamas Bowl. So we went down to Nassau.
Shoot.
Yeah.
Oh man.
How was that trip?
Wow.
Honestly, for me, it sucked.
Seriously?
I got sick when I got down there.
No.
We traveled down there, and then the second day that we had like this big dinner it was a Popeyes Bahamas Bowl. So they flew in their chefs from Atlanta, and they did this big beach dinner. But I started feeling sick that night, and then the next day I was down for the count. So I was spending my whole trip in my hotel room, like breaking my fever, all that stuff, and then before the game, I was finally doing decent, but yeah, I didn't really get to experience any of the festivities.
That's terrible timing.
Horrible timing. Horrible.
Literally some of the worst timing. So everybody has their best. So would you say that would classify as maybe your worst moment in college? Or what was a time that was really tough for you at EMU?
I'd say the first few years were just tough because we were going between coaches. We did a lot of changes with offense, specifically from offensive coordinators. So I think we learned three offenses in 3 years. So it was a lot of change every year. But I'd say the toughest experience that I had was when we went to Michigan State, and we were in East Lansing. We played them, and they beat us 73 to 14. And I had dislocated ribs. We had a bunch of people that were out. They were injured that game. So even up front in our offensive line, one of our centers, he tore his ACL. So people were dropping like flies. So they were just teeing off on us. So that was the one time I could say I did not enjoy that game.
That sounds awful.
It was. Yeah.
That sounds
Yeah,
awful.
I'll pass. I'll keep running.
So Darren, we brought you in because you have a connection to the Super Bowl, and so we have one question before we kind of get into that. And you had two teammates that are playing this Sunday.
Mhm.
Basically, before that, did you guys have a pro day at EMU? And if you did you participate in it? And what was it like?
Yeah, so they have a pro day every single year. I did not participate in it because my senior seasons, I got medically retired from an injury, and then I was able to come back and play the second half. So I had already accepted previously because I had 3 surgeries while I was there. I had already accepted that I wasn't going to play at the next level. So it wasn't bad for me. But pro days my senior year, it was a really good turnout. I think there was representatives from every team there, or almost every team, because we had Pat, he had a fantastic career. He was lighting up the boards on defense, and then offensively we had a lot of good players. So yeah, it was cool. It was the biggest turnout that I had seen every single year. You start with a couple NFL teams who might come over from Ann Arbor my freshman sophomore year after their pro day, and then more CFL teams, to then being the majority of NFL teams were attending to see our players our senior year. So that was really cool to see.
Was it pretty reminiscent of like tryouts back in like high school, in middle school, kind of?
Yeah, to an extent. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a lot different just because it's there's a lot on the line. You know, you got your boys.
It's super hyped up.
Yeah, they've been training for this for 3 months, and then if they have a bad start on their 40, or somebody tweaks a hamstring right out of the gate for a shuttle, that's tough to see. But yeah, I mean, it's set up. They're all over the field. They do their pro agilities. You'll do your 40s. You'll do your verticals, broads. They'll go to the weight room and do the bench press, and then they'll do the field work. So yeah, it was cool. We gotta leave class a little bit early to come check it out, but yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah.
So you didn't participate, but two of your teammates did. And
Mhm.
we brought you in to, to one, talk to you about what it's like playing in the trenches, but also get a little insight from you and your two teammates and friends that are playing in the Super Bowl this Sunday. So do you want to let everybody know and talk about Andrew Wiley a little bit and Pat O'Connor?
Yeah, I can tell you a little bit about them both, and if you have any questions, just shoot them my way. But I'll start with Wiley. Wiley was he gray shirted my freshman year because he had a medical issue, so he didn't come in until after the season of freshman year. And I met him at a party at our football house, and see this big country guy walking in when he has a half gallon of booze, and we were best friends ever since then. So that started the friendship. But he had a hell of a career. He's a freak athlete. I mean, you've never seen a 330-pound guy, 6'6", doing windmill dunks and 360s. And yeah, he's every bit of an athlete. And then Pat and I hit it off really well when we all first got there. We've been really close. He's different. He's from the south side of Chicago, an Irish kid, and it was kind of a similar story. He had the booze at the party, and we were always sticking together. But we all get along really well. It was a big group of us that we were tight as can be. So being able to see their success, even through college, we knew that they both had the opportunity to play at a high level, and not just float around from team to team, but actually make an impact. So Wiley going from 4 teams to then finally sticking to the Chiefs, and now being able to step in and potentially have a second Super Bowl with 30+ starts, being an undrafted free agent. I think he's writing a really nice resume for himself. And then Pat found a home down in Tampa after he was drafted to the Detroit Lions during the draft. So I'm super happy for both of them.
Mitch?
Oh, okay. I was making sure you weren't going. Let's stick with Wiley, Darien. Like you said, he's been 4 teams and now starting with the Chiefs. He missed the Super Bowl last year because of an injury. So I take it you've talked to him. Like, what's it been like this year for him? And what's it been like as a whole? You said they've taken 2 different paths. So what's Wiley's journey been like?
Yeah, Wiley's been through it. As offensive line, you're going to be battling injuries your entire career. So he's been battling injuries himself, I'm sure. But the biggest thing for him is he's been able to step in and fill the void for other linemen that have been injured. So he's been playing at guard. And you saw him pop out to play tackle as well, and he did very well against. It was the Saints that they played against, where he popped out and played tackle. So he's been having a well deserved path to the Super Bowl this year, I'd say.
Darren, how hard is that as an offensive lineman or defensive? We'll stick with offensive lineman right now. How hard is that to change positions on the line? Because people just think that you can plug and play, and it doesn't seem like that's the case at all. How different is it to change like where you're at on the line?
Yeah, no, it's completely different. I think it just is a testament to how good of an athlete he is. So Wiley's able to be on the inside, and even schematically, right? If you're on the inside, you always have distance from your left or your right. You have your center or your tackle working with you, and so it's you're not on an island. And physically, your matchup is completely different. You have a shade or you have a 3 who's typically your bigger guys. Yeah. So you're moving people with double teams, but when you pop out to tackle, you have to read a lot more. You're more of on an island. You're taking a vertical set opposed to taking one right at the line of scrimmage and jump setting somebody. So when he pops out to tackle, or when anybody does, that's tough, right? You're going against arguably one of the best athletes on the defense in a one-on-one pass rush if you don't have any assistance from the backfield or tight ends.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. I mean, I even learned some stuff there. I don't know about you, Mitch.
I'm learning. It's
unbelievable how intricate it really is at every level and every position. And just to hear that, and some of that stuff just went just right over my head. But that's what happens when you specialize in something. Go ahead, Mitch. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I was going to say, before we move over to Pat, I do have one question that I know Noah Danke and probably some of your friends also need clarification. Andrew Wiley, his Twitter bio says his Madden rank does not define him, Darien. His Madden rank in Madden is a 66 overall. 1, does his Madden rank define him? And 2, should it be higher than a 66?
No, it does not define him. He's very adamant about that. And if he had any say, it'd be a lot higher, and I think I'd have to agree with him. But yeah, it should definitely be higher than a 66.
I just wanted to clarify for our friend Noah Danke. He wanted to make sure I got that question in there for you. So let's talk about Pat now. Pat's down in Tampa and he plays defensive line. So what can you tell us about Pat? I mean, obviously we know how you guys became friends with the booze, and that's a great reason to start.
100%.
Yeah, Pat he's one of the better leaders that I've been around. He was a multiple-time captain, multiple-time Torchbearer Award winner at Eastern Michigan, which is the leadership award that we have. But he is a gritty, hard-nosed, hard-working guy. So he's got one of the highest motors that I've seen and been around. So I think that's something that Max Crosby, who's playing for the Raiders right now, they're very similar because they both have that same high motor, hustler, run to the ball, always attacking the ball, and kind of like a selfless mentality, right? I think that speaks to his role right now with the Bucs, which is he's doing a lot of special teams. I think he had the most special team snaps their last game. So it might not be him, rushing the passer, being a 5 or a 3 on the inside, but he's finding a way to pave his role and contributing. I guarantee 110% every time he's out there.
Yep.
And how different is it? Did you ever have to play defensive line in college? Like, is there ever a time? I know you said you had to, mix and match parts on the offensive line. Did you ever have to play defensive line?
No. I was even in high school. It was, to me, I didn't like if I would be able to play a 3, I would have maybe tried a little bit harder. But we played at Jackson. It was I was head up on the center, so I was getting double or triple teamed every time, and so that wasn't for me. If I couldn't make a tackle or do anything fun, then it wasn't my kind of game. I'd rather be the one doing the hitting.
How much harder as a lineman, offensive lineman, is it to pass block as opposed to when you guys are running the football? Is it that much more challenging as an offensive lineman? As an offensive lineman, do you always want your coach running the football?
Yeah. I mean, it depends, right? So if it's a 2-minute drill, I enjoy that kind of a pass pro because you basically get a sit back and you usually do like a full line slide. So it's more of a zone and then 2 guys are manned, but they're not bringing any pressures or blitzes. But when you're doing when you have like a stacked box or you have a defense that likes to do different pressures, running the ball is a lot easier because you have your coordinated steps. And if they run a blitz or they run something, somebody's going to have to replace them, right? So if your guy goes away, somebody else is coming back. So it's a lot easier if you stay on your track. You can't be wrong. We used to always say, if you're all wrong, you're all right. So if we were all doing an outside zone or something, everybody's going right. If you pick up a man, the running back will find a crease. But when you're doing pass protection, it's a lot tougher. Like if you have say you're playing tackle and you have your defensive end drop back and your eyes have to go immediately back to the inside because somebody's coming to replace them, right? So it's a lot of different places that pressure can come from. So you have to have your head on a swivel and really understand the fundamentals of the game and also your game plan specifically to be successful in the long term in the pass game.
It seems like you almost have to study much like a quarterback does at his position. I mean, it just seems like you almost have to know where you need to be on every single play, and depending on how many different plays you guys are running each game, how taxing does that become, like in terms of studying prior to a big game?
You can really only do so many things, right? So once you really have a core understanding of the game and your opponents, because we play the majority of your opponents year after year, so it helped us a lot because our offensive line unit, we had all 30-some plus starts, so we were all very tenured. So it helped with our quarterback as well. And it up differently, we'd be able to talk to him and he could check right out of it because he knew what we were talking about. So we had that synergy. But yeah, going into each game plan or each week, it was just small different nuances for each week. But I don't think you had to reinvent the wheel. If you knew your offense and your protection, then you really couldn't miss that bad.
All right.
All right. That. Well, Darien, Jordan, do you have anything else before we move on to the actual Super Bowl matchup?
No, let's do it.
Okay. And I do have one more question that I purposely did not put on there, Darien, because I was told that there's some people out there that have told me that you are a Browns fan, correct?
I am.
And there's some sources out there that say you had a Kansas City Chiefs jersey on after the Chiefs beat the Browns.
You're damn right. I had a Kansas City Chiefs. I had Wiley's jersey. So Wiley gave me he used to play for the Browns. He was on the practice squad for a bit. So one of his first games playing for the Chiefs, it was against the Browns, and it was his best game that season. So he gave me that game jersey and signed it for me, and got a nice spot for it on the wall. But it was only right because he was potentially going to have to be playing some tackle. We didn't know because there was those reports that came out before the game. Their tackle was a little bit sick, so if he was going against Myles Garrett, I needed him to play his best game ever. So I had his jersey on underneath, and then I had the Joe Thomas jersey, the GOAT, over top of him. So it was a healthy balance, but yeah, it was funny because probably that same source or an affiliate of that source actually had a Chiefs shirt on that I had never seen before right after the game as well.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
wow.
right.
Funny how they leave that part out. Funny how it
I
comes
know.
all full circle now. I wanted to give you a chance to defend yourself and really explain to the people what was
And
going
he
on, but
doubled
now
down.
he doubled down.
I
That's
respect
Always do.
more than we could have asked for right there. But all right, let's talk Super Bowl 55, Darien. One, you already said your favorite team's the Browns. So before we do Super Bowl 55, I guess, are the Browns going to be there soon?
Have to be.
Have to be.
Have to be.
And then
It's a must.
I agree. Who's your favorite player in the NFL right now?
Right now, that's a tough one. Outside of course, my buddies that are playing, I'd have to say I like Jedrick Wills this year and Teller. Those two together were absolute game changers. So I really appreciate seeing some good O-line play, especially with Joe Thomas being out of the Browns, and seeing those two step into fill some voids.
Only reason the Browns were 11-5 is because of that offensive line play. So I love to see it too. Hopefully we continue that.
Darien, are you rooting for one team this Sunday, or what? Like, are you rooting Chiefs? Or are you rooting Buccaneers? Or are you how are you going to do this with a friend on each team?
I got the Chiefs. I'm rooting for the Chiefs. I hope Pat does well and all the best to him. But yeah, I'm a Chiefs guy. I've been to Arrowhead every year since Wiley's been playing, except for this year, unfortunately, because of COVID. But we got to go to watch them play against the Patriots. I got to go watch them play against Baltimore last year. So I think Arrowhead and Kansas City, that's my second home. And it also helps. I was born in Kansas City, Missouri. So by default, I have to go with them.
Yeah. That's a big fact you left out until the end there.
Yeah, just sprinkle it in there.
That is pretty cool. No. So what do you feel like Kansas City has to do well or exceptionally well Sunday if they want to come out on top in Super Bowl 55?
I think they just have to play their game offensively, right? I don't think that they have to, change anything up or reinvent the wheel, like I said earlier. But I think it's going to come down to defense, honestly. If you got Tyrann Mathieu, he's a freak and he's always around the ball. So if he can be a ball hawk and play his game, then I think it'll be a good game. But I think they will end up coming out on top.
You predict a low scoring game or a little high? If you had to pick one,
I'm going
over 56 or lower.
That's too short. Bet the over.
Bet the over. Oh, man,
I
just told everybody to handle the under.
Yeah, well, life's too short to bet the under. A great man once said that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
So I'll
go ahead, Mitch.
Jordan, yep.
No, you're good.
Okay. Are you taking the Chiefs then Sunday, Darren? Do you think the Chiefs repeat as Super Bowl champs, or does Tom Brady get his 7th and quickly end a small run the Chiefs are on right now?
I think that I do think that the Chiefs will win that one. And yes, I'll be taking the Chiefs.
Okay. Now, have you talked to Wiley or Pat, up to this game? Have you talked to them at all? They have nerves? Are they excited to see each other? What's that like?
You need to put them in a group chat late Saturday night. Just you three. Just you three late Saturday night.
I talked to them both. I talk to them almost every day, or at least Wiley. I was talking to Pat earlier today, but no, they're fine. I think that honestly, once you get to that point, you're a professional. It's just another game, and that's even what Pat said. I sent him a couple of the questions. I said, anything you want me to tell the people? But he said that it's literally get all the jitters and the butterflies out pregame and treat it like any other game, which is what it is. So. And I think Wiley's composure and the type of person he is he'll be steady state the whole time. So I'm looking forward to it.
How many of you linemen take pre-workout before games? Do you guys just get do you guys do that?
Hell no.
No?
No. You're asking for a heart attack out there if you're
I'm
taking
just
pre-work.
curious. I mean, hey, before I run mile repeats on the road, I take like 2 5-hour energies. I just do it.
I think for linemen, it's enough to know that you have to physically demoralize the human being across, and if you don't, they're going to do it to you. So that's really all the pre-workout you need.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
What-
If you don't do your job, you're going to be on your ass. That
Exactly.
should be enough.
What about smelling salts? You ever do smelling salts before a game, during a game?
Yeah, I wouldn't. It was when we were younger, they would do it a lot, but that's not my cup of tea.
All right, just had to check in there. So, Darian's taking the Chiefs in Super Bowl 55. Jordan, I have no more questions for him. I don't know if you do.
No, I don't, but we so appreciate you coming on. You were awesome. This was I'm even more excited for the Super Bowl now.
No, I really appreciate you guys having me on. This is a great podcast. I look forward to following you guys in the future.
Thank you. Hey, listen, you're more than welcome to hop back on anytime. We'll talk
Yeah.
football with you all the time. We'll talk anything with you all the time. So, but Darian, thank you for hopping on with us today, and best of luck to Andrew and Pat this weekend.
Yep,
Yeah.
appreciate it, guys. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, have fun
See you
watching
later.
the game.
Yep.
Darien Terrell. Man, that was awesome, Mitch.
That was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun.
Great interview, great insight. Listen, we've had Noah Danke on, who played defense. We've had Jake Plott on. He was our college football guy, played quarterback. So we had only right to get an offensive lineman on there, especially with Super Bowl connections like he had this weekend. And that was just really cool to get him on here. Talk what it was like out of high school going to Eastern Michigan, and then what the path has been like for two of his best friends.
Well, and just think about it. Like, there's a lot of positions that don't come from like the Alabamas or the Ohio States or the Oklahomas. Like in the trenches, think about that. That much talent on the offensive line at Eastern Michigan in the MAC. Like, you could play anywhere, and be in the NFL and be in the Super Bowl. It's pretty neat. It's also kind of crazy that he knows that many people at his position. Like, you know what I mean? That's has to be pretty neat to have to actually have real stake in the Super Bowl, right?
Real stake in the Super Bowl. And
Yeah.
I mean, it has to make it so much more interesting too. I mean, like you just said, Jordan, I mean, I don't know. I feel like since we had him on the show, I got to pull for him now. We got to go Chiefs. At least I do.
Yeah,
To me, I
I'm
threw for the Chiefs.
sticking with Tampa, Mitch. I'm sorry. You can go Chiefs.
No, that's okay. That's okay. But once again, thank you to Darien for hopping on. Would love to have him on again sometime. That was just great.
Oh, absolutely.
Also, Jordan, one thing that can't go unnoticed.
What?
He answered those would you rather questions so fast and so great. I mean, none of those answers made me question him at all.
No,
You got to leave with that stuff sometimes.
I was going to be a little weary of him if he liked crunchy peanut butter, but he doesn't like crunchy peanut butter, so he's a normal person. He likes regular peanut butter.
Yeah, if you like crunchy peanut butter, I just look at you a little differently. I don't judge you, but I mean, I do look at you just.
I 100%
judge him?
judge. I do.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Just like why? If you want
100%.
crunchy, I don't know. I don't know, Jordan. I don't know. Any last thoughts on the Super Bowl before we move on to our last segment?
I mean, come Tuesday, we're either going to be anointing Tom Brady, probably the most decorated athlete, even over Michael Jordan if he wins. If not, we're saying goodbye to Tom Brady, and we're saying hello to the new dynasty in the NFL, the Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, and the Walrus, Andy Reid. There's really not much else to say, Mitch. Was I not supposed to call Andy Reid a walrus? I mean, I love Andy Reid. I wasn't supposed to be I wasn't like an all disrespect.
Andy Reid has big balls.
Yeah, he's the most likely. Like, if I had to give somebody a hug in the NFL, I'd give him a hug. He just seems like he'd be like, he's just a nice guy. Just a great guy. He seems like he'd be a great grandpa.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. You know who I wouldn't give a hug? Dan Campbell in Detroit, because he'll bite your kneecaps.
He will bite your kneecaps.
He won't want to hug you at all. Jordan, there's a couple prop bets I was looking at though that I feel like we need to address.
Okay, address them.
Whose nostrils are you going to see first in the game? Because let's remember, coaches have to wear a mask. Yeah, there's a bet right now. Do you see Andy Reid's nose?
Ridiculous.
Full nose and nostrils, or do you see Bruce Arians' nose and nostrils? And let's keep in mind, Arians does wear a face shield, so you can see through that. It would take him to lift the face shield up.
Yeah, but so does Andy Reid. Andy Reid wears a face shield too.
Not anymore. Not anymore. Andy Reid now has like that little
not
muzzle.
anymore. Do you have his schedule of games where he's worn a face mask and not worn one? How do you know this?
I'm talking just straight face mask first, just the plastic thing in front of your face.
Andy Reid just had the straight plastic, like plexiglass. Like you're walking into CVS and you want to shake the person's hand at the counter, but you can't because there's plexiglass. I thought he had that over his face. Does he not?
The most recent games, it looks like he has a muzzle on him, just a nice little toddler-like Kansas City Chiefs mask that just looks horrendous on his face. Apparently, Brandon Ranke thinks Andy Reid has a beat.
Yeah, and for those of you listening, there's a chunk of you guys out there who watch and listen to this, but you're not subscribed. And if you're one of those people, don't be one of those people. Subscribe and like this video now and hit the bell so you're notified anytime we go live. Mitch, keep going. I just had to come in.
No, that was great. So I mean, what coach are you taking though? What coach are you going to see their nostrils first? And it could be the winning coach. Like you can go a whole game.
Let's go. I'm going to go Andy Reid. I'm going to go Andy Reid.
Andy Reid. Okay.
Yeah.
Which quarterback has more passing yards?
Patrick Mahomes. No doubt.
Patrick Mahomes. Okay. Does the kickoff get returned or is it a touchback?
It's returned.
It's returned. Okay.
I feel like I was like playing, what is it, 1 minute to win it or whatever?
Fun fact about the kickoff, that the odds of a return for a touchdown, which has only been done by Devin Hester, is like 5,500 plus 5,500.
Yeah. And Devin Hester is one of the best return men of all time.
Him and Josh Cribbs.
Well, and no, Dante Hall, X Factor, Kansas City Chiefs. How could you forget about maybe the best return man of all time? Kansas City's playing this weekend, Mitch. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, but I'm still giving Josh Cribbs his credit. I mean,
okay, that's fine. You can give Josh Cribbs his credit.
All right. And then does Tom Brady throw for a touchdown or an interception first?
Interception first.
Okay. Does Pat Mahomes throw for a touchdown or interception first? Touchdown? Okay.
Tom Brady will turn the ball over. He's not going to turn it over enough, though.
Hey, that's fine. Who has more rushing yards? Ronald Jones or playoff Leonard Fournette?
I'm going to say Leonard Fournette just because he's been on a tear. Ronald Jones is a better runner of the football. He's also incredibly explosive. And when you're playing a team like the Kansas City Chiefs, I think you play the guy who's more explosive. Unless you're trying to kill the clock, that might be Tampa Bay. We'll find out what Tampa Bay's strategy is. I'm going to go Leonard Fournette, though.
That's a great answer. Just a great answer, Jordan, because how do you bet against playoff Lenny? You can't.
He's real.
Can't do it. Jordan, that's it for the Super Bowl from my side. Listen, I'm my gut says Chiefs. I'm gonna be pulling for Tom Brady to get a seventh, though. But if the Chiefs win and win by more than I don't know, 10 points, does that mean the Browns are the second best team in the NFL?
It 100% means exactly that. I'm glad you brought that up.
Okay. Well, I mean, let's just so everybody is aware, that means the Browns are the second best team in the NFL if the Buccaneers lose by more than 6 points, because the Browns lost by 5.
Correct.
Just facts. Facts, kids. No cap. But Jordan, let's move on to segment 3. What do you say?
Mitch, it's my favorite segment. So why wouldn't we move on to segment 3?
Who has bigger balls?
But wait, before we ask who has bigger balls today, you guys need to know who had the biggest balls in the month of January.
That's right.
I
forgot about that.
We posted the challenge on Twitter. No, you're fine. It was perfectly set up. We posted the bracket on Twitter of our 7 contestants of who had the biggest balls from all of our episodes in January.
Mm-hmm.
The championship matchup was, the favorite number 1 seed Kyrie Irving, who, didn't play for the Brooklyn Nets, didn't show up to team activities and didn't tell anyone why. They asked Steve Nash, didn't know, ultimately saying, I just didn't want to, Jordan.
Yep.
And he took on the number 3 seed Mark Anthony Hunt. And for those that do not remember, Mark Anthony Hunt was the Florida man who released horse owners' horses,
Oh yeah.
just random horse owners'
He
horses.
rode them home like this, baby. Come on now.
And he rode one home to evade the police, Jordan.
Come on.
So that was our championship matchup. There was a lot of, arguing in the comments section. A lot of people thought Jared Porter, the former GM of the Mets, who had sent 60 plus messages to a reporter with no reply, also, put a picture of
his penis.
Of his penis. Yep. Of his penis.
Yeah.
We'll just say it. Say how it is.
Yeah.
People thought he should have beaten Mark Anthony Hupp, but the people had something to say about that. So Jordan,
He did.
the results are in. And the person that had the biggest balls in the month of January with a 61% to 39% win is Mark Anthony Hunt, the 3 seed, taking down Kyrie Irving.
What a ridiculous sound effect. But, that's who I voted for. I just think it's so gangster to steal someone else's horses. And for your reason to be, I believe they just belong in nature, is just the most gangster thing ever. Because he's not even taking them for his own gain. He did it honestly, for this country and for the world. Thank you, Mark Anthony Hunt. You are an American. What's more American than that? Stealing someone else's horses. I don't know what it is.
And I just like the fact that he did that and then rode one home. Just casually, like, hey, please, our horses are gone. Oh, hey, there's a random guy on the road with a horse. Like,
it's pretty impressive.
Pretty impressive. The only thing that wasn't impressive is the fact that he got caught.
Honestly, God, it's a feel-good story if you think about it.
Is it?
I think it's a feel-good story. Are you serious? This guy sent the horses back to their home. I'm not a huge fan of zoos. I've never have been. You're keeping some of these animals from, their natural habitat. Obviously, they could be extinct if we didn't do that because there's monsters out there killing baby giraffes. But, Mitch, Mark Anthony Hunt, that was a well-deserved win.
It was a well-deserved win. He is the winner for the month of January for who had the biggest balls out of our 7 episodes. So, Mark Anthony Hunt will now await the other 11 winners for the rest of the year until we figure out who had the biggest balls for all of 2021. But Jordan, in order to figure out who had the biggest balls in 2021, we have to see who had the biggest balls for episode 23 now. And
who has bigger balls?
I'm sorry, I was trying to time that up perfect, but I didn't know when you were
did
going to do it. Did I time it up well?
Yes. Don't listen.
Maybe not.
People care more about that than what I have to say, but they
Mitch,
do want to listen now.
At NBC, they have somebody else doing this job that I'm doing, so me and you could just talk. But unfortunately, me and you are so multi-talented that we have to play all roles at once. So, sometimes our timing's off. It's
okay.
Off. So, Mitch, who has what?
People are still rocking with us, and that's all that matters. And now they're going to figure out who has bigger balls. Jordan, is it top country singer Morgan Wallen for using racial slurs and being caught on video when he was drunk the other night, and now has been banned from the CMAs, the Country Music Awards show, and he's now not eligible for any? Or, Jordan, is it the Southern California man for robbing a Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles after he was denied service for not wearing a mask, left the establishment, and returned with a gun, demanding chicken and waffles they could give him, and then ran off?
Did he hurt anybody?
Nope.
Did he get his chicken and waffles?
He got his chicken and waffles and ran off, police and store officials say, in Southern California. He remains at large, according to the article. This happened at 5:40 p.m. in Pasadena, California on Wednesday. So the suspect first walked into the restaurant, ordered, was turned away because he wasn't wearing a mask. Like, come on, dude, there's a pandemic going on. Put the mask on. And after he turned around, and left that place, he turned right back in there with a gun and demanded chicken and waffles. So, Jordan,
when he came back in the second time, was he wearing his mask? I'm just taking notes here. I'm trying to really understand the entire situation before I make a choice on who has bigger balls. Because if he came back with a gun but also wearing his mask, that would show that he respected the people enough to put his mask on. It also shows, Mitch, and I just want to make this point real quick, is that sometimes if you just meet someone's demands, they'll leave you alone. All they had to do was give him chicken and waffles. He left them alone.
Sure. There is nothing in this article from ABC 7 News that says if he returned with a mask on, he would be I think that would also change my way of voting for this, but no, he demanded they turn over food, chicken, waffles, and syrup. There was no word on the actual quality of the food he was given with the gun in his hand, but the man ran off then. No one was injured, which is bigger. So, Jordan, is it Morgan Wallen for using racial slurs and being caught and exposed? Or is it the Southern California man for robbing a Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles after being denied service?
Well, Mitch,
not wearing a mask.
This is easy, and this is why this is easy. I didn't even know who Morgan Wallen was until you just told me who he is. But yeah, I thought it was a woman the first time.
You didn't think it was a woman.
So I didn't even know Morgan Wallen existed. I'm glad I've never heard. You know how easy it is to be racist? It's easy. That doesn't take any balls to be racist. That doesn't take any balls at all. Honestly, it obviously has to be the guy who, at gunpoint, didn't ask for money behind the counter, but asked for chicken and waffles. Think about that. He genuinely wanted chicken and waffles. I think he has the biggest balls. Apparently, gun is the same currency. Gun is a different currency. Got his chicken and waffles. God bless.
And we're going to keep tabs on this because I want to know if he gets caught, and two, we need to figure out his name, or else, for the sake of the tournament, if
has he not been listed? Has he not been named yet?
Not in this article, at least, that was put out.
You steal chicken and waffles, and I'm naming your ass in the news as soon as possible. Like, right? Like, how do we not know this guy's name?
I mean, he was caught on camera. So, guys, maybe I'll retweet it off the CYB Live Show Twitter account so everyone can see. And one, if you're not following us already, head over there to follow us, and you'll be able to see all the polls we put up and questions and topics we tweet out. But Jordan, I think we're both in agreement here that the man in Southern California, we're going to call him the chicken heist, or call it the chicken heist.
It sounds like it'd be a Dave Chappelle comedy sketch, right? Someone goes in, they don't ask for money. Like, they ask for chicken and waffles. That's, one question we didn't even ask was how good, were the chicken and waffles at this particular place, because depending on where he went. Oh, no, he went Roscoe's, yeah. Yeah, It's justifiable.
Well, the chicken heist gentleman, I think, from both of us, has the bigger balls for episode 23 of Cover Your Balls. Guys, thank you for tuning in to episode 23, our Super Bowl 55 preview. A huge thank you to Darien Terrell, and a huge thank you to all of you guys who made our last show the most watched show. Hopefully, this one does even better. Like, subscribe, and download these on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And until Tuesday for episode 24, I'm Mitch Balla.
I'm Jordan McKelly.
Go cover your balls.
And next time we see each other, Tom Brady will be anointed the best human ever.
Debatable.
And Drew Brees is still retiring, Mitch.